Ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Tuesday, September 6, 2022. Clerk Jacome, please call the roll.
Thank you. Present are Councilor Norris, Councilor McCabe, Councilor Deputy Mayor Depot, Mayor Hedrick, Councilor Sheffield, Councilor Piazza, Councilor Carter, Finance Director Ron Uhas, and City Clerk Edward Jacome.
Okay, thank you. Please stand and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is recognitions, awards, and memorials. Chief, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'm here tonight to recognize 6 officers. Unfortunately, one of them right now is on a call, so we have 5 here present. They're going to be 6 Chiefs Awards. So in the early morning hours, approximately 1 a.m. on 12 June 2022, Officer Precourt heard what he believed to be a motor vehicle accident in the area of CBS Highway. After notifying dispatch, he quickly responded to the area to investigate the noise. While en route, the City of Groton Police Dispatch received a call of a 911 of a possible disturbance on CBS Highway near the City Municipal building. And all officers were dispatched at that time. Officer Precourt's immediate arrival on scene interrupted an active robbery of a city resident. One male suspect at the time was standing over the victim and holding him on the ground, as a second male suspect was standing by the vehicles. Officer Precourt exited his vehicle and approached the suspects. Both suspects then ran into the woods. After ensuring the safety of the victim, Officer Precourt, without concern for his own safety, ran into the dark wooded area in pursuit of the 2 suspects, and he was able to apprehend one of them. Corporal Chin and Officer Hyde arrived on scene, at which point Officer Hyde then entered the woods and pursued the second suspect and was able to apprehend that second suspect. A search of the area and the suspects at that time produced $5,272 in currency and $2,000 in casino chips that belonged to the victim. Later that morning, approximately 7:30 in the morning, Sergeant Smith took his shift, Corporal Ruddy, and Officer Hauptman out into the woods again to do a secondary search. At that point, they were able to come up with another $6,000 in casino chips and $1,000 in currency, all recovered for the victim. The swift and thorough actions of Officer Precourt, Officer Hyde, Corporal Chin, Sergeant Smith, Corporal Ruddy, and Officer Hauptman not only saved the victim from further potential harm and a great financial loss, but it also led to the arrest of 2 calculating and dangerous felons. Now, I say dangerous and calculating because, as it turns out, the suspects followed the victim all the way from a casino out of state. Saw him at the casino, saw that he won money, followed him all the way down to Groton, at which point he was able to then ram their car into the victim's car, at which point they stopped because of an accident where the robbery took place. So for their actions in the recovery of all the money and the chips, I'm presenting Officer Philip Precourt with the Chiefs Award. Officer Sean Hyde. Okay. Corporal Alan Chin. Officer Jason Hotman. And Corporal Paul Ruddy. This is your seventh one. And Sergeant Smith, unfortunately, is on a call right now, so he could not attend. Thank you.
I'm gonna see your pictures. We have a lot of people here. Well, we have a ton of people standing here. Chief, do you want to take a quick recess so the council can get pictures with the officers and then come back? I mean, it needs to be pretty quick because we have a room full of people waiting for citizens petitions. Okay, then we will take a recess long enough, take a pictures. I beg your indulgence for less than 5 minutes. I promise we'll go out there, we'll get the pictures, we'll come right back. And you will have the time for citizens petitions, and that will be next. Okay, council? Ready? Are you ready? Well, we have a quorum. We have a quorum. I'm not holding it up. One more thing under recognition awards and memorials. We had an employee appreciation barbecue a couple weeks ago, and I want to thank Johanny Thomas and the events committee for putting that on and for getting the crowd that we did. We had a large number. It's the first get-together that the city employees have had in over 2 years. So it was an opportunity for people to get together, have something to eat, have fun, and blow off a little steam. So thank you to everyone that was involved in that. All right, we will now move on to receipt of citizens' petitions. Comments? Receipt of citizen petitions is a portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from the citizens. To address the council, please sign the sheet on the table at the front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. In this case, you will come to the table. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the City of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the responses to the citizens petition portion of the meeting. Okay, Clerk Jacome, who do we have? Yes, please.
So first up, we have Elizabeth
Duarte?
Duarte, yes. 54 Cottage Street.
I am Elizabeth Duarte. I live at 54 Cottage Street, and I'm upset that the Connecticut legislature changed our election day from May to November. And I believe that you have the power to stop it. There are 5 municipalities and 8 boroughs in Connecticut who hold May elections. The 5 municipalities are Andover, Bethany, Union, Woodbridge, and the City of Groton. However, Andover, Bethany, Union, and Woodbridge are all single towns. The city is within, as we all know, the town of Groton. Those other 4 towns would not have conflicts, I believe, if they changed their election day. However, the City of Groton, and most likely the 8 boroughs, would have a very different election if it were held in November. To hold an election with 2 sets of councilors and 2 clerks and a city but not town mayor listed on the ballot, I believe will cause confusion. That could make it so that people don't vote for all the positions. Not because they chose not to vote for all the positions, which they have the right, of course, to do, but because of the logistics of the ballot. And as a resident of the city, of which I enjoy and appreciate all the services that we have here, I am requesting that you vote to keep our city elections in May so that we will be able to have the best possible election. I also am asking that we follow our charter, which states that our elections are the first Monday in May. If you want to consider changing the election date to November, then I believe that it should be done through the charter revision, which then gives you time to research all sides of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Paul Duarte.
I'm Paul Duarte, 54 Cottage Street. I also am in opposition to the change of our election to November. And as far as I can see, the way this is, you just have to say no as a group, and that doesn't happen. And I think you should. The way we vote right now is not broken. There's absolutely no reason to change it. And it works well for us. Voter confusion would be immense with both the city and the town having a November election. As 4 years as the registrar and 2 to 3 years as deputy before that, I can tell you that on election day, the phone starts ringing at 6:05 and doesn't stop until just about 8 o'clock. You don't even have time to call anybody every time you put down the phone, it rings. So that type of confusion, this is bad enough. Just think about when we changed the polling places, the confusion that caused. And not talking about, who's gonna be where and whether or not everybody gets to vote on this or that or whatever. But the biggest part, to me, is the loss of our voice as a city. We, because of a May election, gets to concentrate just on our issues. With a November election, our voice could very well be muted and overheard or overshadowed by events in the town. It could be issues with Board of Education, which we've seen in so many towns. That type of thing could, just suck all the oxygen out is what I'm getting to. And that would be all the coverage. And the issues here in the city, which we need to have discussed, is lost. So within that, I hope you kind of take that to heart, that we are the largest breakaway or borough type of, or subdivision, political subdivision. And we have approximately, about a $90 million budget if you take in utilities. Those issues cannot, to us, are paramount in the way that we live and the services we provide. And I would hate to see that voice lost because we've been forced into an election in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sandra Fetters. Sorry if I butcher your name.
Oh, that's all right. I'm used to it. Oh, good evening. How are we all doing today? My name is Sandra Fetters. I'm a displaced resident at 28 Branford Ave in Branford Manor Apartments. I have been displaced from my home in Branford Manor due to hazardous conditions brought on by toxic mold. My family and I have been living in a hotel since May 17th of this year with no one in sight, which is not a bad thing because I know me and my family are safe. I have been living in Branford Manor for 7 years, and for those 7 years, I have been slowly being poisoned by mold growing inside my apartment. In my apartment, mold was growing behind my bathroom walls. Mold likes to live in moist, humid environments. I had paid for my own mold test and air quality test, which came back positive for 12 different molds, which were all native to rotting wood associated with water damage. Branford Manor is known for having issues with humidity, especially upstairs due to the lack of air conditioning, and ventilation. Mold begins to grow at humidity levels about 50%. My apartment has levels in the high 60s, and that's a constant. I had a dehumidifier, and we were emptying out by the gallon every hour. With air conditioning installed upstairs in the window, that air conditioner at one point was so overrun and caked with black mold from the humidity. It was so bad up there, the air conditioner could not function properly. And according to Mr. Matt Finkel, the mold and the associated problems are completely fixable. Well, how come they haven't been fixed yet? There was a lady that moved out of building 18 because the pipes were leaking in there for 3 years. That apartment was so encased in mold, it was growing into her medicine bottles. They rented that apartment out within 2 months after her removal out. Mold takes 24 to 48 hours to grow. This issue has been happening for 50 years when this was built. You don't have to have faulty pipes to have mold. Condensations, wet foundations, and humidity is all you need. They will never able to be cleaned. It was built on damp land, and the only way this can be fixed as if they install proper humidity and moisture control, proper ventilation, and completely remediate the property. Not only there is mold infestation, the property is also overrun with bugs and rodents. Bugs are actually attracted to the same conditions as mold, high humidity and moisture. Spiders, cockroaches, termites, fungus gnats, and beetles are also residents of Branford Manor. Cockroaches feed on organic matter. The mold helps to break that down, and termites feed on wooden supports. Mites are also associated with moldy environments. Insect infestation in itself is a health hazard, not to mention the mold. I question the structural integrity of these buildings. At some point, the problem will solve itself. Mold and insects can cause devastating effects on your health. Since August of 2001, I had begun experiencing asthmatic symptoms resembling asthma attacks. I'd ended up in the emergency room multiple times with severe difficulty of breathing, causing my lips to turn blue. I was dying from that apartment. I quit smoking to reduce these attacks, but they continue to occur. We already knew that we had mold in the apartment and knew there was a history of mold. I got an appointment with an allergist. He diagnosed me with hypersensitivity pneumonitis, commonly known as farmer's lung, and I'm not a farmer. There are 6 types of mold found in my apartment to cause hypersensitivity pneumonitis. He has also diagnosed me with severe mold, mite, cockroach, and rodent allergies. My treatment includes 3 inhalers, multiple antihistamines, anti-inflammatory medications, along with weekly shots to desensitize my immune system. So far, I have endured 30-plus shots, with many more to go in 3 years in this process, which may or may not even work.
You have 1 minute.
I'm sorry. He also told me that I need to abandon my things and have no contact with any of the other apartments for prolonged exposure with mold that will cause scarring on my lungs. Mold can also associate with cancer, lupus, and heart failure and lung disease. Prolonged exposures can also result in weakened immune system, and the effects on the mold are similar to dust allergies. In fact, my daughter, who has epilepsy, has not experienced 1 seizure since May 17th. Her neurologist identified mold as a potential trigger. I've been disabled by Branford Manor's negligence. Not only are they negligent, but they are not trustworthy. Not only, but when informed of my health concerns and my severe allergies to the mold, Zach Simmons had told me the levels of mold in my new apartment were suitable for occupancy. He also stated that there was no water damage despite the mold on the test they conducted, which came back positive for water damage-related mold, rust particles, peeling, and bubbling paint. Bubbling paints, when painted over mold, and rust occurs because of moisture. I guess I'm all done, huh? I was almost
Can
finished.
you wrap it up?
I certainly can,
Okay,
Mayor
I'll give
Keith,
you a
thank
minute.
you.
I'll give you in a minute.
The living conditions in Branford Manor's apartment are not safe for me to return to. In order to return, they would have to prove the apartment 100% mold-free, and that has and is proper humidity and moisture control and ventilation, or they would have to build a whole new complex. With these precautions installed, without these things, the only way I could go back there is if I wore a protective gear, a hazmat suit, respirator, goggles, and gloves from my apartment 24/7. Any levels of mold is dangerous to someone who is highly allergic. Constant exposure will cause me to lose my life. Forcing me to go back is signing my death certificate. Branford Manor and associate partners continue to disregard my medical condition, mold report, and 504. The proof writes itself, and the proof is in the mold. And if you clean up the mold but don't fix the water problems, the mold will come back. They are playing a very dangerous game with my lives and all of us. I don't want to die from that apartment, and I will if I have to go back. I thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Robert Giuliani.
Robert Giuliani, 23 Cushman Street. Greetings, Mayor and Council. You had 2 eloquent guests who spoke appropriately in regards to the May election. I'm not going to address those issues or repeat it again, but I'm going to talk about the confusion that it's going to cause for city voters. I'm the chairman of the City Republican Committee, and the committee is here. I'm representing them, and the majority is unified in recommending the city keep the elections in May. Since the borough was developed in 1903, it's always been, by charter, May elections for the city and keeping it distinguished from the associating with the town. The town operates
and the city operations and needs are completely separate. It has always been confusing for individuals to understand this. People don't understand the differences between the city and the town. People don't understand the method of operations. People don't understand the separate needs of both entities. People don't understand the separate operations of both. The city of Groton is very unique. We have a paid mayor, and per charter, the mayor is the one who runs the city and the Groton utilities. Things in the city that are very critical are General Dynamics, Pfizer's, and the University of Avery Point. The town is also very unique as a charter, as a mayor, a council, an RTM, and a Board of Ed, all on election day. Councilors make policies. The RTM is the checkbook for the town. Different organization operations. Moving the elections to November will be more confusing than ever, more so by the city voters. Here's an example. When the city voter goes to the election in May, they vote for one mayor and 6 councilors, 7 people. If we move this to November, you're going to ask them to also add in 9 councilmen for the mayor, which is including their mayor, 41 RTM members, and a Board of Ed of 8 for another additional 58 people. So you're going to ask our city voters to vote for 65 seats on one day. Can you imagine the confusion that's going to cause? Both political parties, both in the city and town, have different needs and goals. By combining elections, you will be confusing between 2 political parties in each section, a Democratic and city party in the city and a Democratic city party in the town. City elections in November will be a mistake, causing confusion. Voters, if you do that, voters will be completely overwhelmed with the information they're going to get from voters with 65 candidates. The City of Groton Republican Committee recommends you keep the elections in May. I thank you for your time, and I also thank you for your service on the City Council.
Thank you.
Next, we have Amity R. Scott.
Good evening. If I may, I'd like to pass out some paperwork. Thank you. Hopefully there's enough there. If not, how you doing? My name's Amity R. Scott. I'm an attorney here in the city of Groton. I live in the town of Groton. And I represent over 100 people from who live in the Branford Manor subsidized housing development. There are over 145 units at Branford Manor with known documented mold and moisture and humidity. There are folks such as Ms. Fetters who have been relocated because of the conditions. And there are many others who also have been relocated into hotels or are basically couch surfing because their family unit doesn't allow for them to stay in a hotel passed out, this is just basically, it's a PowerPoint presentation, but if you go through it, there's photos, there's a timeline, but what I want to highlight about the issue at Branford Manor is that it's nothing new. When Related Affordable came in 2016 and said that they were the experts in affordable housing and in preserving, acquiring, and maintaining an asset such as Branford Manor, it rings very hollow today. They have spent $18 million on renovations, and the systemic issue of mold and moisture continues to exist. Those same things that the residents mentioned when they came in 2017 to the council to talk about continue to exist. In fact, the conditions are getting worse. And the city's aware of this. In 2018, there were a handful of complaints, and there was also a complaint from a Related employee who was very upset and actually left Related Affordable and moved on to a different job. But this is in the city record. It says, she says, people are drowning in mold. And she lists probably about almost a dozen units. That's 2018. November of 2018, city building inspector says, we are getting lots of complaints about Branford Manor and mold issues. If we have done all that can be done and you cannot find water infiltration that causes mold, then it's time to send it over to the prosecutor. Let's not be a mediator. That was in 2018. Mr. Smith, the building inspector at the time, also cited the rental housing code, which at section 303.1 says that the interior of a structure and the equipment therein shall be maintained in good repair, structurally sound, and in a sanitary condition, as well as 303.10 of the housing code, which talks about walls, ceilings, and floors being maintained and free of rot and holes and breaks, loose rotting boards, things like that, which water damage is one of those things. 2020, the complaints continue. They're made to the city. There is so much heat and moisture coming out of my bottom cabinets and drawers that it has created mold on my things. I had to throw my things away. You can smell the musty mold smell in my kitchen. And again, the city wrote to,
You have 1 minute.
thank you. And again, the city wrote to Branford Manor, told them they were in violation, told them to fix it, and yet the problem persists. And the problem is pervasive. In 2021, the city and Ledgelight sat down with Related at a meeting and said, you have to address these water issues and mold conditions. Mayor Hedrick went down May of 2022 to speak with residents and indicated that that this problem was going to get solved. But here we are in September, and the problem is not solved. And in fact, these are, unfortunately, I can't mirror my screen on the monitor, but if you can see these photos, I mean, that's this year, happening right now. And I can certainly upload and share these with you so that you can see the extent of the mold as well as the pervasive nature of this problem and its need to be fixed. Thank you.
Okay, I'll give you another minute if you want to continue.
No, it's okay. What I'll do is I'll send those photos. Well, let me just mention this, that Mr. Summers, the building inspector, did cite Branford Manor for a number of violations, and obviously we'll be following through on that. And it's my understanding, too, that Ledgelight, who also participated in the inspections, Mr. Summers didn't cite any mold issues, but it's my understanding that Ledgelight is going to be getting into that aspect.
That is correct, and I will
Okay.
address the council
Okay,
later on and update
Yep.
them
okay,
on what you and I talked about at the beginning of the meeting.
okay. Thank you. Is there an email address I can send the photos to? I'll get
Well,
it from you after.
You can,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
you can send them to the clerk and then he can get them to the council, or you can send them to me and I'll send them to the council.
Okay. Thank you.
Next is Ian Thomas.
Good evening, Ian Thomas, 24 Jefferson Drive. I'm here to speak on a couple issues. First and foremost, the Branford Manor situation. I've been here before speaking about that, and I'm not going to be able to give you more information than the attorney just did because she obviously is much closer to it than I am. I would encourage you to look out for those emails and look at those pictures very closely and pay attention to the narratives. It is of utmost importance that something is done there as quickly as possible. It's already been many months. And as I've spoken at town council meetings, and I'll speak here again, I would encourage you all to seriously consider the default option in the contract as a mechanism to compel compliance by Related Affordable. They have not proven to be a genuine actor in this situation. They've said a lot of nice things, but they have not moved with alacrity and dispatch. They're just now coming up with a comprehensive plan, to survey, not to address. So, and the other topic I want to speak on is the possible change of elections. And I've heard a number of people speak about it tonight. And I, for one, do not agree with the opposition to that. Actually, I think it's a great opportunity to make the change and to allow for the change to occur, because where there's possibility of confusion has been identified here a number of times, you also have the opportunity for education. And the amount of, over the past number of years that I've been involved politically and have been out on the campaign trail talking to people or just talking to people in general, serving as a representative on the RTM, there is still a lot of, people are not quite clear on city and town. And while it may seem daunting to have them all combined together, I think actually it's a great opportunity to be able to kind of understand that we live in a sort of a unique situation with these dual municipalities. And as far as like the ballot names and concerns, yeah, I mean, the ballots would be specific to the districts. So districts 2 and 3 are not going to see districts 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Their RTM members are not going to be on the ballot. So it's not going to be any confusion there. It's just going to be D2 and D3 in each district. So, and same with the councilors. Like, the city council is only going to appear on the city ballots. So it's an opportunity to educate the people of the town and the city about the municipalities and how we coexist and how we interlock. So I would encourage you to consider allowing the change to occur. Now, how you manage that change, that could be a delicate matter. But I think it would also be a great cost savings. There's been a lot of concern about the cost of elections. And with the amount of people now getting involved, it's been increasing. So I don't know. I mean, there's been a number of primaries in the last few years. I don't know if that's a trend that's going to continue, but it's altogether possible. So in the case of being more primaries, you may want to consider consolidating elections in another area in order to conserve on costs. So that's all I got to say about that. And again, I urge you, if you have not yet read the agreement that exists between Branford Manor and the city of Groton and the town of Groton, please do so. Read closely in the section about default. It is not a call for termination. It is just a signal to say we are not satisfied, and then it enters into a situation where it's arbitrated and the courts are involved, and it's a way
You
to
have 1
mandate
minute.
the compliance of Related Affordable. So yeah, definitely please look into that, and anything you can do for those folks would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Jean-Claude Amboise.
Thank you. Good evening. Mayor and councilors, my name is Jean-Claude Amboise, 169 Shinnecossett Parkway. My comments are to respectfully request that the City Council vote in the affirmative to continue City of Groton elections in May. Since the establishment of the borough in 1903, either by Freeman's meeting originally or municipal elections currently, they've always been held in May. This is very important because it maintains the long-standing precedent of the City of Groton being uniquely independent. Keeping the elections in May also maintains continuity to voters. There have been several changes lately due to state elections redistricting and relocating polling stations on several occasions, that another change in the procedure can have a negative impact on voters. One example that I can consider, if we would end up having to have 2 ballots, because front and back on a town and then another for city candidates. Consider that there could be a same candidate that runs for multiple elected offices on multiple ballots, which does not speak to the true voter choice. All in all likelihood, a candidate of that type would only end up taking on multiple lines, but only allowed to take 1 seat. So the voters that were voting truly don't get to place that person that was electing for that position. Cost savings based on the video transmission of the City Council Committee of the Whole when Kristen Venditti was here. It said that the cost savings would be nominal because the City of Groton would still have to pay for and run elections. And on an aside, I know there has been discussion in the past of my critique of cost savings on elections, but that was specific to unscheduled and unfunded primaries. Again, I would just encourage you, and I've done a little bit of self-polling on my own with unaffiliated Republicans and Democrat voters within the city. There have been a few people that were for November elections, but the overwhelming amount were for keeping the integrity of City of Groton elections in May. So I hope that you can vote for that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jill Rusk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jill Rusk. I live at 85 Baker Avenue. I want to come here for a number of reasons tonight. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the employees and volunteers for City Day. It was an amazing night. It was very fun as always, and I appreciate all the time and energy that it takes, and especially to Mary Hill, who I know runs it. So I want to say thank you to them. I also want to say thank you to Public Works. Mitchell Street looks fantastic. I am going to urge that we please look at the crosswalk at Park Street especially. It has been a rather dangerous intersection there, and that side or that crosswalk tends to be one that people don't stop for. I would love to see flashing lights at all of them on Mitchell Street and on Thames Street, but I definitely am urging the one at Park to be looked at initially. And I am a bit disappointed that bike lanes didn't get included on Mitchell Street. I'm hoping this is something that can be continued to be looked at in the future. I am going to ask for a quick update on the reservoir, if possible, how our water levels are at. I know I went by there a while ago and it looked fairly low. I know we got a lot of rain in the last 24 hours, so hopefully that helps. And I know we do have a lot of water in the back, but I just wanted to see if we could get an update on that. And then as a resident who lives a half a block from the Costa property, I want to urge, or I want to give my support to the purchase of that property. In addition to adding to the neighborhood, it supports our plan of conservation and development. It's an excellent deal. It was brokered many years ago. And I know this has been in the works for many years. I don't even know how long, but when I was on council, it was definitely something that was discussed. And it expands public space near the river, which I think is always appropriate and positive for the city. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That is everybody that's signed up currently.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Amity, would you like to be with Ms. Alvarez?
If you don't mind.
Please.
Yeah, thanks.
Amity will be translating for, I assume? Okay, Amity will be translating for Sarah Alvarez.
Apunta tu nombre, apellidos, firma y dirección. You should try to trata de hablar un poco.
102 Branford Ave. Well, she'll say it, but I just happen to know that number. Ms. Alvarez, you have the floor.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Sara Álvarez.
My
Soy
name
de,
is Sarah Alvarez.
al apartamento 102 Branford Avenue, Building 35.
I live at 102 Branford Avenue, Building 35.
Hablaré muy brevemente.
I'm going to speak very briefly.
Tengo un tumor cerebral.
I have a brain tumor.
Informé a Branford Manor.
I informed Branford Manor.
Llevo 68 días esperando el nuevo apartamento.
And I've been waiting 68 days for a new apartment.
Prácticamente estoy en la calle.
I'm practically homeless.
Llegué el día de hoy a recoger un poco más de ropa para mis niños.
I went back to the apartment today to get some clothing for my kids.
Fui con mis niños.
I went with my kids.
Mi niño dijo que había un olor muy raro.
My son said that there was a very strange smell in the apartment.
Abrí la puerta del basement y había mucha agua en el basement.
So I opened the basement door and the basement floor was flooded with water.
Eso es todo. Gracias.
That's everything I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anyone else? Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak under citizens petitions to the council? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to response to citizens petitions and comments. I'll open the floor to the council. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I know that you're probably going to respond a lot more on the Branford Manor thing, so I just want to say a few things that I've observed, and I've spent a lot of time with Branford Manor residents, with people who I know Branford Manor residents, to try to encourage them to go to the correct department for complaints. So if you have a health complaint, please make a complaint to the health department. If you have a building complaint, please make a complaint to the building department, because as the attorney showed, we have a bunch of complaints that all came through, and our building department has now issued letters to Branford Manor, but we can't do that without knowing where these problems are. And I think the mayor can maybe speak more to the risk of retaliation, because that has always been the response, is that, which is definitely a problem, which is that Branford may retaliate for them complaining, which is illegal, and the city supports our residents making complaints to our building department. So I just want to encourage people that if they make a complaint to the building department, we have their backs. Our job is to make sure that they have a safe place to live. Again, I've spent many hours emailing, talking in person to people about Branford Manor and helping them get information on who to talk to. So I just want to keep encouraging that. I know it's like a broken record here every week, but I figure if one person hears it every week, it might make a difference. But so that to me is very important. If you have a complaint about Branford Manor, please let us know, let the appropriate department know, because it's the only way it's going to get fixed. That's the mechanism that we can use to get it fixed, I should say. I think that's mostly what I want to say about Branford Manor. In response to Mr. Thomas, I know that we've discussed here the option of default on the tax agreement. And we've we've mentioned this before, the mechanism to cure any issues we have with that agreement, in my opinion, they will just do the bare minimum, and we will be out a bunch of attorney's fees, and the end result will be the same. I know that the town the tax that the town gets is much larger than what we get, so when you do the math of what attorney's fees would be, it would be a smaller percentage for them to use that mechanism. So I'm not saying that what I think about what they should do, but for me, for the city, the tax amount that we receive or would receive if that agreement were not in place would be very much impacted by the amount of attorney's fees. Not to say that's not an option or not something we could do in the future, but I don't think we're at that point right now where that makes sense for me. And yeah, so that's all on Branford Manor. About Election Day, I'm really glad that people came out to give opinions. Since we brought it up last time, pretty much every city resident that I run into now, I poll them on this issue to ask them what they think. Because I think it's important for us, we are representing the people, I think it's important to get a representative opinion. I've probably had around a dozen or so conversations, and I have met people who have more questions, so like, what are the details, how would it work, those kind of things. But I haven't, all of the conversations I've had have ended with residents who think it would be confusing to move the election. I think, we aren't making a decision on that today, but I am going to continue to reach out to city residents and see what they think about it, because I think it's really important to get a broader view than just those of us. We're all very connected. We know what the ballot's gonna look like because we're on the ballot. So it's not gonna be unfamiliar to us. It's not gonna be too confusing for us, but we're not the only people that matter. So I am gonna continue to do that, to get opinions of city residents, and I encourage everyone else to do the same, even other residents. If you know and your neighbor doesn't know about it, have a conversation, see what they think. And you can always send us an email with your opinion on that. I think it's really important. And I forgot to say this at the beginning, but I am so happy that we have so many people come to our meeting, to public comments. I know that it makes our meetings long, but I think it's important for people to show up and speak when they have something to say to the council. So thank you very, very much to everyone who showed up, because again, and I say this all the time, watch where people spend their time. So all the people who came out tonight chose to spend their Tuesday night here making public comment, and that tells you what matters to them. And I especially want to thank the chairman of both the political committees for coming out, because, again, the political committees have their pulse on what's going on. In general, they have kind of the ability to reach out into the community to people who are active and get their opinion and talk to them a little bit more. So I think it's really important to get their view on it as well, on the possible change in election. I do also want to point out, I agree with Ms. Rusk about the crosswalks. Just drove by EB the other day. I usually avoid it, but sometimes I drive through just to check out like what the crosswalks look like, how the traffic is going. Safety is really important down there. I've noticed the last many times, I think we made this change a while ago, but we had them move all the food trucks to one side because they were blocking crosswalks and you could not see. I just treated all the crosswalks like a stop sign because you couldn't see past the food trucks. So I think it's a lot safer the way we have it set up now with all the food trucks on that one section. But I agree that whatever measures we can take to make the streets safer where there's common people crossing is great. And I know that we have on Eastern Point Road, we've been working really hard we had to do new landings, I think, or the state had to do new landings. But we're working on doing more crosswalks down that way as well. And I think that's it.
Okay. Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to thank everyone for coming out and speaking to the mayor and city council. That's first. I wanted to touch base on, as a nurse for many, many years, although I drive a bus now, which is an important job. I'm just really deeply moved by the medical conditions and diagnoses that our tenants are having. With that said, having worked in the field for so long, medical illnesses don't wait. And it's very concerning to me that this has been looming for years, even before I've been on the council. It's very concerning to me that people are displaced, possibly homeless, dealing with medical issues. I've had children that have medical issues, done 6 therapies, things, and we don't want to wait. We want things to happen, move into position to receive treatment, therapies, whatever is needed. So I'm deeply, 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 I want to say I'm really deeply moved. I'm really quite bothered by it. And my concern is that we still have multiple people. You have a citizen who has come here and said she opens the door and her basement is flooded. To me, that's like somebody telling me they need some fluids, and I have fluids, and it's not, and I have them available, but we're all taking time to get it for whatever's holding it up. That's very concerning. I know there's a process to everything. I don't have an answer for it right now, but I am definitely for the people, and I'm hoping in some way, somehow, I can be a part of that, a movement of this. So that's what I'd like to say. In reference to the crosswalks, I totally agree with Ms. Russ. I live in that area. A lot of the people do not stop at that crosswalk, and I also have to say, being a bus driver, not only do we have EB workers out there, we have children. I did recently share my concern as a mom, students that were crossing down into the rink. It's you can't see it. It's very dark down there. As a educated sex trafficker person, I think it's a bad position. We did get it changed, Washington Park. It's more visible, it's well lit, easier for people to see their children getting on and off the bus. But with that said, we have children who are crossing the crosswalks there. We have students that are crossing the crosswalks there. We have students who are crossing. And it's doing our dry runs, when we do it, we don't actually have students on board. But now that we're doing it, there's multiple more cars, multiple students, people crossing. And I will also say, driving on Mitchell Street alone, is the crosswalks are not used as well. And I'm just going to assume that many of it is our employees at EB. They cross between where Sacred Heart is and up between Mitchell. They cross across there. I've sat there, and when it's dark and it's raining, it's very difficult to see them. So not only do we're thinking about adults, we're also thinking about children. So it's very concerning for me. I think, you know, I don't know what the next move is for this. Something lit. I know the police department had actually put in the state law signs. I think that in some ways has helped. It's kind of made it more visible. But I do think it's a deep concern, especially with the school year in. And we do still have people going through the reds. So thank you for your time and listening.
Okay. Other counselors? Counselor Norris?
Well, congratulations to the officers that show that they keep our city safe and they're alert, and thank you for others that came out and spoke. Regarding Brantford Manor, hopelessness. There's nothing worse than feeling hopeless, especially when you have a child. Knowing what it's like to have lived in an apartment with mold and not being able to sleep, sleeping in a bed in an apartment that at one time had cockroaches, and dreaming of when I can get my next job to get out of there. I was lucky. I had an option of getting out. Took a while, but it got me out. I have a feeling that some folks in Brantford Manor don't have the luxury that I had. I don't know what we as City of Groton councilors can do, but it's time to have that conversation. I think it's too much conversation about call the officials and let's report it and see what the officials can do. It's now time, I don't know if this is the forum, or if it's an executive session, that we sit and discuss as a municipality, as a force of we talk about, we care about our residents. Well, we need to stop saying, call the building official. We need to start saying, put on paper what we can do, what we can't do, and what we're willing to do, and share that information with the residents. And I hope we do that, because if this has been going on since 2018, if not soon before that, and we're having the exact same conversation today, then I don't know what we're doing. I really don't. And I just want to put out there, let's have the conversation. It could be we can do absolutely nothing. If that's the answer, then let's tell these folks. As city council, there's nothing we can do. Call Ledgelight, call the building department. But if there truly is, and these folks are not upholding their end, and we are literally jeopardizing the lives of Groton City residents, we owe it to them to step forward. And if we're saying that the tax that we collect is a small portion, then we can't put that small portion against the lives of people that we see every day, that I drive past every day, that I see kids playing on the corner every day. So maybe it's time that we pull up our socks and take off our shoes and go walk in their shoes for a little while. Thank you.
Okay, other counselors that haven't spoken yet? I'll recognize second-time speakers after we recognize first-time. Counselor Carter?
For starters, I'll speak briefly on the Branford. What's going on there? And that was great. Those were great words, and they do resonate. Wasn't gonna say anything until you said something. I was gonna wait. Because this I was gonna wait because this has been ongoing. And for me, I don't think it's a matter of what are we going to do something? If we're going to do something to tell these people, for me, I don't think it's that. It's more of, for me, I'm still, okay, what can I do as a councilman, as a council member? I hold one seat here. Like, what can I do as a councilman? I don't find myself in a situation where it's okay, okay, this is what we can do, and I'm not going to do it. I need to know, what can we do? What can I do? What can my voice do? So I want to make that clear. It's not that I'm not trying to do anything. I absolutely am. Secondly, I know. I know Attorney R. Scott personally. I know her whole family. And I'm, when she, her stepping up and her doing all this, and, speaking with the young lady here, in Spanish, that shows that they, you have somebody representing Branford Manor who cares, right? And who I'm sure is putting in her own time and effort, and she's from this area, so these are her people that she's speaking on behalf, So I know, as a council, we can ask questions. I know she is going to be receptive towards that, and I'm glad that she came, because I for one, I think my understanding is more to seek and understand what I can do in my seat, as opposed to what we can do as a council, because I'll be totally honest with you, I don't know, I don't know what I can do to help these guys out, all right? Secondly, briefly on the elections, which honestly, obviously, that right now is still fairly new to me, and you have to excuse me, I've been away for like 3 weeks, just coming back, today, but I've been listening, and I've been speaking with the mayor and reading. And I don't know as far as how quick we have to make moves on as far as the decision with the elections go, but my stance right now is, and just putting it out there, I think in order for me to change what was just handed down, right? I think for me to kind of change, okay, you know, for me personally, to say, okay, no, we need to keep it in May. I think we need more than just, it's going to cause confusion, because we don't know that, you know, we just don't know that. There's no way to know that it's going to cause confusion. In fact, it may help. And if it's in our charter to keep it in May, there's no reason, and I mean, from what I know, there's no reason to go ahead and do it in November, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then we can always change it back according to our charter. I mean, if there's something otherwise that I don't know, I think it's more of an education thing for me moving forward, you know. But I think just by simply saying confusion, you know, I think I need a little more to kind of, you know, shift my gear to keep it to May, you know. The people I represent and even myself, I think it's actually more confusing that we have it in May, every other year in May. The people that I go to and the people that the constituents that I speak with are kind of confused why I'm going out to speak with them in the spring, every other year, you know. So I think there's more to this, more to the discussion. That's just where I'm kind of heading. So I'm glad, you know, whoever has any questions or who, you know, kind of wants to see where I'm headed, you know, kind of stop me or speak to me after this or whenever, you know. I'm just want to put that out there as far as, you know, just saying confusion. I actually look at it a little differently because I may represent a different spectrum of people. And the way it is now is kind of confusing that it's in May. So that's that.
Any other first-time speakers? Councilor Sheffield?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thanks for all the citizen petitions for coming out. This was a great turnout, and it's too bad. I mean, I wish we had maybe more public hearings, especially regarding the cost of property. I would like to hear more feedback about that. It sounds like a great idea to purchase the property for the location, but my issue is what are we going to do with the property? I'd like to see a long-term plan in place to see where we're going to go. I don't want it to sit there like the Mother Bailey for over 10 years and no revenue being generated, and it's off the tax rolls. So that's my concern as far as that purchase goes. If we have a plan that we could put in place, I think I'm all in, you know, but I don't want to, like I said, it seems like it's jumping really quick, and yet we don't really know what we want to do with the property long term, and that's my concern. I have concerns about that. As far as the elections go, you know, for November, people look towards November more than May anyway, and I like more inclusiveness all at once than splitting it up twice during the year. I think you bring more people out to vote at one time and you increase citizens' participation this way. So it may be, you know, a sense different, but if you have here in the city 2 separate ballots of city ballot and the town ballot, I think the voter be able to disseminate between the two. You know, we're not a huge area. People know everybody, you know, in this close-knit community, so I don't think there'll be that much of a complicated issue as far as presenting an election. I think it'll bring more participation to the process, and I think that's what we need more of is voter participation, so people really know what's going on and not just get drifted off after one election, and then you know, May comes up and a lot of people don't do a lot of things in May, you know, more outdoor stuff. So I think
having that November election, I think, is ideal for everyone involved to bring the community closer, along with the fact that, okay, we have two separate entities, but again, our representation will still be on the ballot regardless. So it's going to be on one ballot for the city, another ballot for the town. It's going to probably take longer to vote for everyone, but I think the process is the right way to go. And I think the inclusiveness part, I think, is important. So that's what I like about that.
Councilor McCabe?
I also wasn't going to speak, but first of all, I want to say I'm very touched, especially the conversation about Branford Manor. I agree with my two colleagues here that said I'm not quite sure what I can do as a city councilman person, but I do know that I want to do something. I look forward to the conversations that we'll have, Mayor, when you bring it to us and tell us how we can help, what power can we have to affect change. So that's what I wanted to say about that. When it comes to voting, my feeling is that if we were to make a change, I wouldn't want to make a change right out of the gate. Maybe work on discussing whether we'd want to make a charter change. If that's the case, I actually lean towards, I do think it would be a little more confusing to be handed two ballots in this day where we want things quickly, filling out, I don't know how many bubbles that would be. I just think that would actually be kind of a deterrent to people when they're handing two ballots. I might just only fill out one. Oh, the town's bigger, I'll just fill out this one. I don't know, but I think that I haven't heard any really compelling reason to change it from May to November, cost-wise, or I don't know if I agree that it would be easier to just do it all at once when I weigh it against what I do think would be kind of confusing. And I'm not really sure I buy into it being more educational, because in a city, when I vote for the city, I'm all in, concentrating on the city itself. When I'm voting for the town, I'm all in and focused on the town issues and not the two bleeding together. So that's just my opinion on that. What else did we talk about? I guess those are the two main things. Oh, the cost of property. I just wanted to say that I think it would be a very good thing for the city to complete the square of the property, to keep it, turn it into something that supports revitalizing Thames Street, having the park there. The deal that was brokered many, many years ago, the price that we would pay is based on property values many years ago and not in today's market. So I think the deal we'd get it's not something we can just look away from right now. So that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it for first-time speakers. Second-time speakers, Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, I was going to bring this up in communications report, but I do want to say this is Suicide Prevention Awareness Week and month. I've had two immediate family members within my family had died by suicide, so I want to relate this to our citizens at Branford Manor. And not only is this physical things that are going on, but looking back and have experienced myself and being involved in suicide prevention, I think it's really important that we think about this. I'm not saying I don't want to place this upon them, but when you're in a role of something's not working, as we go home and go to bed and put our heads on pillows and breathe nicely, when you're in a situation where you just don't feel like anything's going to get better, or I'm reaching up for the top of the cup when I just can't seem to get there, what is it that we can do as counselors? I'm really asking those who are listening, I am asking our citizens of Branford, I would personally like to get some emails and stay in touch. Just to reach out, basically as a heart-to-heart, for that situation, being aware of suicide prevention, that this is, to be in this situation and experiencing such physical ailments can be very depressing. And I just want to make us aware, and specifically our citizens of Branford, that I am aware of it more so. And not more so than anybody, but just more so in this month. So I just want to say that to you. Thank you.
Any other second-time speakers? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to Councilor Norris's comment. I did not say that the small portion of tax wouldn't be worth the lives of people, which is what you implied I said. My point is, the end, us defaulting on the agreement, if you read the whole agreement, what we can do is say, hey, you're not doing this thing, you have 60 days to do it. They're just gonna do it on day 59. That's the way these companies operate. And, you know, I have been in meetings, I know that all the counselors have expressed, you know, trying to figure out what we can do as counselors, or, you know, what's the next step. But we have been in meetings with attorneys. It's not that that's not happening. It's not that discussions are not happening with what we can do. Those are happening. We are doing what we can do. We have had, I've been in meetings with our attorney, with the city's attorney and the town's attorney in the same meeting, having discussions about what we can do with Brantford, what would be the cause and effect if we were to do something other than what we're already doing, which is to canvass as many residents as we can, get as many complaints as we can, enforce those complaints with the company. Our building inspector, they did 40 inspections, I think. You know, they are doing what we can do under the law. We also, in my opinion, have a fiduciary duty to every city resident, and pushing too hard and getting sued also has ramifications for every city resident, and it does cost money to do that. And while I'm not saying that would be worth it also, there's more to the thought process than let's throw everything we can without considering what the ramifications. Those ramifications might well be worth it. I'm not saying that they're not, but those conversations are being had. I just don't want, I'm not speaking out of like not knowing that. I've had discussions with attorneys on this subject, and that's why I say I don't think this company is gonna go, oh, you know what, we'll let the whole thing default on these couple things that you're asking us to do. It's not gonna happen. So we're gonna spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to default, and it's not gonna go through anyways, because the issues that we can default them on are all fixable. The other thing that I wanted to say is, and this didn't come up, well, about the election change. I do think we need another cow discussion, a committee of the whole discussion, where we can, how we did last time, how we can kind of free chat about it. One thing I hadn't really thought of until today is, it is essentially a state mandate. And to my knowledge, they didn't contact us beforehand and ask what our opinion was on whether or not they should do that, put that in the law. And none of our state reps or state senators contacted us to let us know that this legislation was going through before it did. So in my opinion, I think that we should be more skeptical of it because it came from people who don't know our boroughs and don't, or, you know, any of the other towns too that have to do it. So I think their decision is kind of an uneducated one, because they didn't even seem to reach out and get the opinions or get perspective from people who live in these towns that are gonna have to change their election. So I think to that end, that's part of the reason that I'm more skeptical of it, because we didn't make this decision, or, you know, the town didn't make the decision, or, you know, 90 towns, and, you know, it was a group of people who didn't even bother to ask us. So that's a little frustrating. And I think that's it. But I just want to emphasize on the Brantford Manor thing that I think if counselors, I, as a counselor from the very beginning, wanted to do more, so I am constantly in contact with the mayor, checking in on what's happening, going to meetings and doing those things. All of the other counselors are also, like, we went to the town council meeting, all the counselors can go to the town council meeting and, see what's going on with Brantford Manor, email, ask questions. My email inbox is full. I have to delete emails because I've gotten so many Brantford emails. So, I know that the mayor's office is communicating with all of us counselors, and, there's lots of room to ask more questions or get more involved, if the other counselors want to. That's all.
Counselor McCabe?
I thought of one more thing about the cost of property that I wanted to bring up. The comparison to the Mother Bailey property versus the cost of property. I think we had a lot of factors with Mother Bailey property, with it being a historical landmark and very beloved in the city. The cost of property is kind of a different scenario, and I think the opportunity to perhaps, take the home down and turn that into park area, maybe a bathroom at some point. So I think that the constraints are circumstances are different, the constraints are a little bit different than the Mother Bailey, and I don't see it as something that would stay on the books and not have movement on it. So I just wanted to say that.
Any other speakers? Who? Oh, Counselor Sheffield.
Regarding Brantford Manor, Councilor Norris mentioned the fact that council hasn't gotten together collectively to discuss what to do about Brantford Manor. Now, we know that the mayor and deputy mayor have gone to meetings and so forth, but as far as the council together, we haven't had Brantford come to us or somehow to discuss the situation with all of us to kind of get a pulse of, where they're at regarding the remediation of mold and other issues. So I think it's time that, having a caucus of some kind to kind of brief all of us, if you're talking to either our attorneys and so forth, to get some update as to what's going on. Because all of us are, if there's going to be a vote, all of us are going to have to come in unless you're going to do this on your own, the mayor, without council, input, then I guess that'll be the way it goes. But it would be nice if we all got together to sort this all out and see what, as a team, as a group, to see if we can resolve this issue. My next thought, back to the cost of property, again, if there's something as far as economic development that could be done, I would be all in favor. But if we want to leave it as a park, which again, the city would own it, it comes off the tax rolls, then it's, sure, the property is there and it's going to probably look nice, but we're not collecting any revenue from it. So that's my issue. If we want to do economic development down there or something to where we can grow on that property, I'm all in. So that's the difference you and I have with that. So it's nice to have a nice park, a view, but nothing's going on, nothing's happening. So that's my issue on that. As far as the voting part again, state legislature, they made their vote. It supersedes our charter. So that's, and I asked the question to the state folks, because that was the question, okay, it's in our charter that we have to have it in May, and I asked them the question, they said, well, state statute supersedes the charter. It's that simple. So obviously, if it didn't, then obviously, it's an easier fight than it would be, so. But again, I'm in favor of, leaning towards, again, bringing more people to the voting polls, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a better idea in the long term to bring people out collectively, and that's what we need to do. So, yeah. Thank you.
Councilor Norris.
If I may have the second to last word, is allow me to apologize to the deputy mayor. I wasn't insinuating in any regard of the feelings or thought process of the deputy mayor. Matter of fact, I would say the reason why all of this has come to light is because of the deputy mayor and mayor allowing a open forum for residents of Brantford Manor to be able to reach out to someone that they think they can lay their fears and anxieties to, and then with the mayor's direction, putting that communication where it belongs. I'm just simply saying, if we do think financially how it affects the city as a whole, then we may need to, as a big family, understand what's best for the community. But I was not directing anything foul, so to speak, towards the mayor or the deputy mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to comment to Deputy Mayor Depot in reference to us being involved. I know when this was first brought up, I did request that, that I know the mayor and Deputy Depot have done a lot of work in it, but also wanted to be involved. And one of those things I did is speaking to people that live in Brantford that I work with. So I do want to make that for the record, and also that I've joined their Facebook page and read all their comments to see, and also all the mayor's emails, and that's how I'm involved. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let me address a couple of things. I'll save Brentford and the mold to last because it's going to be a little lengthy, but I will try to be conscious of our time. So let's talk about crosswalks, Eastern Point Road. Chief was taking notes on the crosswalks, so we will take another look at that about the lights, the flashing lights at Park, what's it?
Mitchell.
Where did I say?
Eastern Point.
Okay, well.
That's my fault, 'cause I meant-
Eastern, well, you're right, but I'm gonna talk about Eastern Point Road in a minute. But at Mitchell Street, at Park and Mitchell, so we'll take a look at that. Eastern Point Road, we have been working with Electric Boat for probably 3+ years now. And we have meetings every 2 weeks with them. They're safety people, they're facility folks. I have my safety guys here. So I have police and fire, we have Joe Summers, we have Bill Robarge, and we talk about safety in and around Electric Boat. There have been several things that have come out of that. The increased marking that is down there, the increased lighting that is down there. We're working with Electric Boat. Electric Boat is one of the concerns that I have and that I've expressed, it's gotten a little better, is that Electric Boat, once people leave the yard, there's not Electric Boat's problem anymore, it's my problem. We are now getting across that the issue of crosswalks, jaywalking, speeding, and other issue is everybody's issue. It doesn't belong to me, it doesn't necessarily belong to EB, it's everybody's issue. Because some of the people that are speeding are Electric Boat folks. And so we are looking at that. Electric Boat recently came to us with a recommendation for closing down Eastern Point Road. I'm not looking at doing that. We are going to, next time we meet, which is week after next, I think, we have an alternative that we're going to look at and that may involve speed tables at Electric Boat. Internally, we're evaluating that as a slowing mechanism to slow people down. There is concern from internal staff, primarily first responders, about putting speed bumps there. That would be a problem. Putting barriers there and impeding traffic would be a problem there. But somehow we got to get our arms around the speeding, and we also have to get our arms around the jaywalking, because at the whistle at the end of the day at 2:30, it's like ants coming out of an anthill, and that is a challenge. And we're working with Electric Boat to try to address those things. So there are some areas that are problematic in the city with crosswalks. Mitchell being one, Easter Point Road being another one. We are addressing it. I did want to say thanks. Some people have already left, but thanks for everybody that came out tonight. This is democracy in action. And let me tell you something. You want to get council's attention, fill the gallery with people who are not normally here, and you will get their attention. On the election, when did we find out about the election? We found out when it was brought to us by another clerk, and then I had the city clerk reach out to all the other boroughs, and they found out from us. Our legislators, none of them, told us about this. This was done, I don't know if this was literally done in the middle of the night, but if you look at this, it is buried in a 571-page document that was voted on. So if it was really that important, people would have brought it out to us. So I think we need to give it some more due diligence. I think we need to talk about it some more, and we will. We'll talk about it at the next committee of the whole. Costa property, the purchase of the Costa, if you vote positive tonight on the Costa property, that will finish out that section, which has been discussed for years and years and years now, of closing that out. The Mother Bailey House is a separate issue. We are currently in the process of taking sealed bids, and we'll open sealed bids on actually next Monday, right? Open the sealed bids next Monday, and we will reveal them, and then we will have the real estate committee evaluate them and make decisions from there. This is not like the Mother Bailey House, and I will assure you that I do not intend to leave this building standing. The input from staff is to demolish the house and then decide what we're going to do with that portion of the building, that portion of the lot. The entire lot is going to be used in conjunction with the lower part of Thingsview Park and the 8 26-foot boat docks that we're trying to put in there. It's all part and parcel of that. It was never intended to be developed. There was never a discussion about putting businesses on there, other than possibly with the docks needing a dock master place for them to stay so that they could rent boat slips and things like that. That may come out of that. It was always intended for recreation, and I'm not talking about just passive where you say, okay, we got an open field, maybe somebody will come. My intent is to have programmed entertainment there to intentionally get people on that piece of property, looking across the water, looking at New London. And that includes food trucks, that includes entertainment, whatever we have to do as a shot in the arm there. We also have people that are looking at the Garbo's property and the old restaurant there that are looking to come in and possibly do development. So that would be beneficial and helpful as well in the south end of town. So that's that. Now let's talk about the Branford Manor situation. The conditions that the moms and the kids are living in some cases, is absolutely horrible. The fact that they're living with a mold like this and it has not been effectively addressed. It has been addressed before, and I do believe that the mold that was identified was remediated, and then now you have new mold that comes back, because if you have humidity levels greater than 60% and it's hot, and you don't have ventilation, you're gonna get mold. The issue where I just found out tonight about the water in the basement, that's new to me, has not been reported to me. On May 6th, when the deputy mayor and I went to the Rock at the initial meeting, we started taking information, and I delivered that information to Ledge Light and to the building inspector. At that point, we started working on issues in Branford Manor because they came to my attention. The way that the situation is now, people can like it or don't like it, but this is the way that it's done, is issues anywhere in the city of Groton are based on complaints. If you have an issue and you make a complaint either through Ledge Light or through the building inspector, then it gets documented, action is then taken, investigations are conducted, and then findings are issued, and then there are corrective actions that are required to be done. That is what we are doing. And from the very beginning, the next week, I met with Zach Simmons, who is a senior vice president for Related. I met with Heather Phillips, who is a vice president for Related. I met with Donna Brown, and then Deputy Mayor was here, and I was here as well. And we talked about where are we going to go, what are we going to do. And since then, I have been working with them to get, to get the mold identified, and to get the mold remediated, and to have people that are in affected apartments removed from those apartments and either put in apartments or put in other apartments on board, on Branford's property, or put them in hotels. There have been some people that have been in hotels, and you hear these stories. We've been in hotels for 3 months, and nobody's done anything to our apartment because I have a camera, and I see that they're not doing this. The issue with that is Branford has come in, and they've done their inspections, and based on what was the known at the time, meaning no visible mold and the swipe or swab test, they found that there was no mold there. Other entities have taken airborne samples and said, look, I found mold. So they were holding Branford to a different standard and therefore not letting residents come back into the apartments. I met with HUD on the 26th of, John Burt and I met with HUD on the 26th of August. And we brought this up and we talked about a lot of different things. And the bottom line is that they reached out to the EPA. And the EPA has said that there is no federal standard, there is no state standard, and there is no local standard for mold. That's one of the challenges we have. They also said that airborne sampling of mold is not considered best practice, and that it's probably more important to look at humidity and moisture control and water infiltration. So, what does that mean? So there's inspections. Branford Related Company has hired HEDI, and I don't remember what that stands for, but I can look it up to you. It's in the emails that I've sent to you. They have 2 teams on site. 130 units have been inspected by HEDI. 7 units have been cleared, having no mold or moisture concerns by HEDI. And Related expects 30 to 35 more to be cleared soon. No new remediation efforts have started since HEDI started inspections. Prior to HEDI starting, 33 units received new caulk and were remediated. HEDI is inspecting 15 to 18 units per day. The timeline, the inspections are likely to take 5 weeks until the end of September to complete. Testing of any samples taken during inspections are taking about 3 days to receive results. Related hopes to start remediating units based on HEDI's recommendation and standards in early September. HEDI has recommended additional remediation companies, so now they'll have 3 companies. One previously unified has proven not to be as responsive as needed. Plans to have multiple companies remediating units remain in place, but companies may be different. The tenant relations. The attorney who you listened to tonight and Related's attorney are speaking almost on a daily basis. 3 of the 8 families staying off property have been offered units in temporary stay, and heady clearance reports for these units have been provided to the attorney. 3 of these families have been offered permanent transfer to Branford Manor. Related is awaiting paperwork from the tenants to complete the process. Clearance reports on these units have not been provided to the attorney. Last week, Ledge Light and the building inspector inspected 20 units. Two weeks ago, I think it is, we received a stack, let me define that, approximately 40 complaints from the attorney, said, here's what we have. In those complaints, there are material deficiencies and there's also mold. Some people are interested only in the mold side and don't care too much about the material side. I'm interested in the mold and the material side. If you look at our housing ordinance says that the building inspector is overall responsible for the enforcement of the housing ordinance. That is true. The health and safety, environmental safety part of that is contracted out, not really contracted out, but falls under our health department, which is the Ledge Light Health District. Our building inspector is not trained in mold identification or remediation. Ledge Light Health District is trained in that. So we have 20, if you check your emails, you got 20 results and findings from the inspection last week. That's in your box right now, waiting on you to read it. I'm waiting on Ledge Light to provide their report of mold in those associated apartments. And then that will also come to you. We are keeping a huge database so that we keep track. One of the things that was sent to me today was we had an issue with a toilet that needed to have a new wax ring. But associated with that, the floor was rotten and needed to be replaced. So what they did was they said to replace their wax ring, and then they were going to send the wood out to the contractor, and then they considered this closed out, this work order closed out. I sent an email back and said, was a new work order opened up for the wood floor? Because what I don't want is I don't want things lost. And that's the challenge you have with multiple databases. We're keeping a master database so that we're not going to lose track of any of this. The basements are a big issue. Currently right now, you have basements and then you have walls in between each of the basements. Those walls are eventually going to get knocked down, so you have one large basement. They need to remediate any mold that is there. My recommendation to them, which they've been resistant to, but my recommendation was to come in afterwards and then paint a water-resistant material on that to keep water from seeping in. If you go on to Branford Manor and you go to the bottom and you look, it's all terraced down. So you get sheet flow coming down from one set of apartments down to the next set, down to the next set. And if you look at the wells that are at the basement windows, they're supposed to be elevated to help stop the water from coming in. Almost every one of the ones that I looked at were either at ground level or below ground level, so water's easy to come in. So, but they are addressing this. They have, one of the things that I sent the council was a sheet that talked about the mold, talked about how they didn't have plastic underneath for the crawl space areas, and that moisture and humidity and mold spores were coming up that way. They're going to replace all that. I have worked with Groton Public Schools to ensure that we had transportation for all the kids so that it wouldn't be an issue, so that the kids didn't have to worry about where are they going to go to school or how are they going to get to school. So we got that. I am continuing to work with Related, Zach Simmons, Heather Phillips, and those people to move things forward. Now, there was a question about what can council do? Right now, there's not a lot for you to do. I will tell you what the town council, there are members of town council and what they want to do, and I know some of you guys are talking to them, is that they want to declare this in default and they want to say, you got to pay all the money back and you're not gonna get a tax break, and we're gonna consider you in default. Okay, they can do that, one party or the other can do that. If the town does it, doesn't mean that the city has to do it. Here's the challenge with that. When I talk to people about that, my question is, if you consider related in default, and you put them in default, does that make them move any faster, any better? And does it enhance the quality of life for the moms and those kids? And the answer to that is no, because right now they're moving. And some people are saying, well, they're not moving fast enough. Understand, I don't like it either. But I am encouraging them, we are trying to cajole them, move them forward to get as much of this done and to move it quickly and do it right so that we don't have this issue. I honestly think that this mold maintenance is going to be an issue that they're going to have from now on because of where they are. Because what's right behind them? Birch Plain Creek, right? So you got as much moisture as you could possibly stand down there. Other issues are, there are apartments that I went into, Sandra Fetters. She brought me into her apartment on the 6th of May, and when I went to the bathroom, the whole atmosphere changed. It was hot, humid, and you could smell the mold in there, okay? But part of the problem is that people need to make sure that they're leaving their exhaust fans on and that they're getting ventilation in, because a lot of people aren't doing that. They're taking the hot showers, it's all nice and steamy, they close the door, they don't open the windows, they don't put the exhaust fan on, and now you got a petri dish where mold's gonna happen. Not blaming the tenants. One of the things that we found is that the exhaust fans are undersized, so they're gonna replace the exhaust fans with new exhaust fans. They're also gonna clean the plenums. So there's a lot of things that they are doing. This is multi-layered and multi-tentacled. So it's not gonna be done quickly. There's also people that are out there that says you gotta do L-plex by L-plex. That is a method, and that would probably work, and that is a method that I have suggested to them. But as long as Related is remediating the mold, they get to decide how they're gonna remediate the mold. Because what we cannot do, I cannot go in as the municipality and kick down the doors and say, I'm here to inspect because I know what's right and you don't. You can't do that. This is all based on complaints. And so people, if you have a problem, you need to let us know. My number is 860-446-4103. Call us, okay? And we will keep it as confidential as we can. However, if you have a problem in your unit, and you say, I got a problem in my unit, and I name the unit, well, then they know you're there. Now, you can, there is a mechanism for anonymous complaints, and you can look at Ledge Light's complaint form, and you can look at our complaint form, and we will keep it anonymous. And right now, Ledge Light is absolutely listening to me, okay? Because when I send them an email, I'm getting everybody involved and say, look, here's the deal. Here's what you got to do. And now I'm working with HUD, and we are going to continue to get forward momentum on this and take care of the kids and the moms. That's my number one concern. Okay? There are people out there that want a pound of flesh. You can get your pound of flesh when this is all over with. Right now, what we need to do is we need to remediate the apartments. We need to get people in safe living conditions, and then we need to move forward and get all the apartments in a livable condition. Now, there's 442 units total. There are, what are we at now? We're at 442 units. We have about, Amity says she's representing 100 people. That's 100 out of 1,600 that she's representing. Does that mean there's more out there? We don't know because they haven't come forward. But I will tell you, every time I'm over there, I go out of my way to talk to people and say, are you okay? Is there are you having mold? I'm taking translators with me. Are you having issues? Are there things that you're complaining about that aren't getting fixed? Because I will absolutely take them to task. And that's what we're doing. Now, let's kind of put the money in perspective. For the town council, so how did this whole thing start? It started out with, you had a value of what that property is worth, and there was a 3% escalation both sides. What happened? Reevaluation. Reevaluation happened, and so therefore, the amount of money that the taxes that are abated is much higher. For the town, it's a sum of about $450,000. For us, it's about $60,000. Now, $60,000, let me put this in perspective. And this is one of the things that I look at, because I'm looking at all of the taxpayers as a whole. $60,000 and we get sued, and my lawyers are charging me $200 an hour. That's 300 hours. And then that cost savings, the tax abatement there, the $60,000 goes away pretty quickly. Now, I am not putting that as a value on anybody's life. We got to make this happen. But my point is, what's going to happen is if you consider them in default, they're going to go to court and they're going to say, we want an injunction so that we don't have to pay that money back, or that the town can't take the money away. And if you look at the agreement, they got 30 days to cure. And then if that doesn't happen, then they get the negotiated time to cure. And basically what that cure time is going to be is as long as they need in order to remediate. And that will continue until they're done. And in the end, there will be no loss of money to them. They will probably still get their their money savings. And what it's done is it ties everything up in court, and the relationship that I have with the related, where Zach is at least talking to me, will go away. They will stop talking to us, and the only people talking are lawyers at $200 and $400 an hour. That's the only thing, that is what's gonna happen. Okay? And my concern is the people that are gonna get harmed in this are the moms and the kids that I swore to protect. And that is where I'm coming from on this whole thing. So, let's see, 20 units were inspected last week. 20 more units are supposed to be inspected next week, or every week until the amount are done. And then we're keeping track of remediation of all the deficiencies. So that's the brief on Branford Manor. All right. With that, we'll move to the approval of the minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the mayor and council minutes of August 1st, 2022.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Take a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for August 22, 2022.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Communications and reports. Councilor Norris. Councilor McCabe. Councilor Carter. Sorry, Councilor Sheffield. I was looking at
Just
Rashad.
just City Day, I think, back in, on August 5th was our last get-together, I guess, as far as for the public. And that's all.
Okay. Councilor Piazza.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Carter. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to mention City Day again. I know that a few other people have mentioned it, but City Day, I was behind the food stand the whole time, and it's really fun to get to talk to people when they come up and get food. Most people go through that line, so you do get to see a large amount of people. I wanted to especially thank the police department and the fire department for all that they do for City Day. There are both the chiefs were on the grills in the back with the mayor, and in addition, some of our lovely firefighters took a few people, a handful up. We got to go up in the ladder truck thing, and it was a little bit scary but really fun. And so I just want to thank them for and all of the because that's extra work that they all have to do on top of protecting the city on a normal basis. So it was a really great day, and that was really fun. On the 26th, I volunteered for the food box distribution. We've been doing this for a while now, and the need is not less. The need continues. So I just want to thank the United Way for contributing and organizing those events, because obviously people are still in need. And I know the mayor said this before, but, you know, hopefully for as long as the need is there, we can keep providing the food. We always have a ton of volunteers, so, and that's due to the United Way's organizing and getting those volunteers there every month. But, you know, I just encourage people, there is food. If you need food, please come to our food box distributions, contact the mayor's office. If you need a delivery, if you need details, you can go to the United Way's Facebook page, our Facebook page. We're always posting that info. So I just think that's important to keep that in everyone's mind as much as we can. And that's it.
The food distribution, if you're out there and you need food, if your food, what's that?
Insecure?
Thank you. Food insecure, please give us a call, 860-446-4103. You can leave, we will, if you can't get there, we will get the food to you. We do not want anyone to go hungry. So, and we have food available. We have so far, we will continue to do that. So, Ron, do you want to? All right, I'm going to ask the council to not go through the Groton utilities or the expenditure since it's as late as it is. We'll do that the next time we get together. Now, the next time we get together is probably going to be on the 19th, and we will have an executive session then to discuss a police officer who is going to be a new individual that's going to be a police officer. So I know normally we take this to the committee of the whole first and then take it to a council meeting. Because of the timing, the academy is on the 24th, 23rd. Academy starts on the 23rd, so I'm going to bring that individual to you in executive session. We're going to come out of executive session, and then based on if you have consensus in executive session, since you can't take votes, then we will do the vote right after that, and then swear in a new police officer. Okay? Ron, did you have anything? Edward, or, I'm sorry, City Clerk?
I don't know if the council, the group 1 and group 2 are planning on meeting for next Monday. There was consensus on that.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I think that our group, we intended to skip August meeting and have a meeting in September. I'm still on board with that as long as these two are.
Okay, other group?
I'll be on vacation.
No? Okay, the other group will not meet. Okay,
Thanks.
we're going to move on to new business, R-22-08-96. Councilor Norris?
Therefore, being resolved that the mayor and council authorize and accept the Nuclear Safety Energy Program grant as requested, allocated by the state of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, with the approval of the state of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management in the amount of $41,118.00 for equipment and resource allocation reimbursements. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor McKay.
Resolution R-22-8-97. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council waive the bid process and authorize a purchase order to Tritech Software Systems, a Central Square Company, 1000 Business Center Drive, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746 for Information Management Corporation, IMC, software support in the amount of $17,149.57 to be paid from fiscal year 23 Police Department operating funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-08-98. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and provisionally approve the contract with Lothrop Associates LLP Architects, 333 Westchester Avenue, White Plains, New York, for the quoted price of $98,200 and no cents for design, engineering, construction documents, bid support, and construction administration services for the City of Groton Municipal Building Renovation Project to be paid from capital funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-08-99. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to AAIS Corporation, 8002 Boston Post Road, West Haven, Connecticut, not to exceed $38,934 and no cents, including a 20% contingency to provide removal of polychlorinated biphenyl PCB and PCB materials at the water treatment plant to be paid from water available cash as a non-bonded capital expense. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. R-22-08-100. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Celtic Painting LLC, 189 Hill Road, Thompson, Connecticut, a preferred vendor not to exceed $108,884.88, including the 20% contingency for painting services at the water treatment plant to be paid from water available cash as a non-bonded capital expense. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-22-08-101. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to ChargePoint Incorporated, 240 East Hacienda Avenue, Campbell, California, for a total not to exceed $26,400 and no cents, including a 10% contingency for a 5-year lease contract for electric vehicle chargers at the municipal building to be paid from Connecticut Municipal Electric Energy Cooperative Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative Fund. I so move. Jeez.
Second.
We have a motion. I know, CMAC Reggie funds, right? It's a lot easier. So we have a motion and a second. This is discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Norris.
I'm hoping we're at R-22-08-102.
Correct.
Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to S&C Electric Company, COEL Flowers, 113 Main Street, Sturbridge, Massachusetts, not to exceed $170,548.50, including a 20% contingency for purchase of a switch gear and Wyman Gordon substation to be paid from fiscal year '23 electric non-bonded capital. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-22-8-103. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Burns and McDonnell, 108 Legis Road, Building A, Suite 1100, Wallingford, Connecticut, not to exceed $272,987.50, including a 25% contingency, to provide construction oversight for Buddington Station and the transmission lines to be paid by the transmission lines 1410, 1280, 400 Buddington Substation Bond Fund Project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed at committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-8-104. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Howard Industries, P.O. Box 1588, Laurel, Missouri, not to exceed $614,628.30, including a 10% contingency for pad mount and overhead transformers to be placed in stock to be paid from fiscal year '23 electric non-bonded capital. I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Counselor Sheffield. 105.
Resolution R-22-08-105. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Three-Phase Line Construction Incorporated, 35 East Industrial Way, Suite 202, Rochester, New Hampshire, not to exceed $2,583,799.20, including a 20% contingency for Buddington Substation construction, a part of the Eastern Connecticut Transmission Project, to be paid by the transmission lines 1410, 1280, 400, Buddington Substation, fiscal year 2023 bond fund project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Counselor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-08-106. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to issue a purchase order to Three-Phase Line Construction Incorporated, 35 East Industrial Way, Suite 202, Rochester, New Hampshire, not to exceed $1,345,069.10, including a 20% contingency for transmission line construction as part of the Eastern Connecticut Transmission ECT project to be paid by the transmission lines 1410/1280/400/Buddington Substation Bond Fund Project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Counselor Carter, I'm going to give you an amended.
Oh, okay.
There is a write-in that we need to add. If you look at at Resolution 107, it does not say where the money's coming from, and I wrote that in, so that'll be
Okay.
in our record. So 107.
Okay.
Can you read my writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. R-22-08-107. Therefore, am I also reading that therefore be it further resolved?
Yes, both of them.
Both, okay, yep. I should have done that. Therefore be it resolved that the city council, authorize and approve Mayor Keith Hedrick to execute the option purchase real estate 352 Thames Street, Groton, Connecticut, in the amount not to exceed $286,518.00, and to be paid from capital funds. Therefore, be it further resolved that Mayor Keith Hedrick is hereby authorized to execute deliver as purchaser of any all documents, instruments, and or agreements, and to take any and all actions deemed necessary or appropriate in order to consummate the aforesaid transactions. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This
Got
was
it.
discussed during the committee of the whole.
You got everything in there.
Yes, we do. This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Counselor Sheffield? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Resolution R-22-09-108. Counselor Norris, do you have that in front of you? Say again? Oh, you're right, sorry. You're right, that's not on the agenda. I need a motion, you're right, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rules to add R-22-09-108 to the agenda.
So moved.
Where is it?
I have a motion.
We're sitting at the table.
Can I get a second?
Need a second?
I need a second.
Second.
In order for- Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So this resolution, normally, we would bring it to a committee of the whole. The reason I'm bringing it to you tonight is because it is time sensitive. We found out about this Friday, and we have 30 days to execute. And this involves much more than us, and Chief Tompkins will, once we get to the motion, he'll talk more about it. But this involves us and 7 other fire districts, fire departments, and 2 ambulance companies. So that's why we want to do this. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do
I'm
okay,
just
do we
trying- I'm
need
trying
more
to-
discussion?
Yeah, I would-
Don't get
yeah,
wrapped around
yeah.
this.
That was
The motion is to add this to the agenda. That's the
Just add
motion.
the- oh, okay.
That's the motion.
Yes. Okay,
The
yes.
motion is
yes,
to add this
okay.
to the agenda.
All right, yes.
That's the only thing we're voting, you're voting on.
Right.
Okay? All right, are we ready to vote?
We
All
just
right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Further discussion? Well, we're done. It's on there. Opposed? Abstention, okay, so it passes. All right, so now, Counselor Norris, please read R-22-09-108. Thank you, Ron.
Therefore, be me resolved that the mayor and council accept and approve the award from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, as part of the Assistance to Firefighters Grants Program in the amount of $739,569.09, which requires a 10% match of local funds, and that the City of Groton Finance Director be authorized to accept the grant. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, for discussion, Chief, if you could come up, excuse me, to the table.
Good evening. So just quickly, I'd like to, unfortunately, the deputy chief couldn't be here because he's at the Mohegan Sun game, which he just gave me an update on, so I won't say anything if anybody's got it taped. But I'd like to publicly acknowledge his time and dedication. He spearheaded this grant that is being awarded to us today. We did a regional grant. This is for communications. It'll be mobile radios and portable radios for the area to get onto the state radio system, which is the way everybody's moving now. I believe the police department just went to the state radio system. It's much more efficient and effective. So we did a regional grant. We are the host community. There has to be a host community. So the city of Groton is not getting all of this grant, but we will have all of our radio needs met. Our portion's approximately $138,000. Until we actually accept the grant and can really get into it, we won't know because they reduced what we asked for slightly. So we lost 24 portable radios across the whole, of Groton. I'm not sure who lost what, but so our portion, our 10% would be $12,000, somewhere in that range, which we have in our budget. But again, this addresses a regional need that everybody at the same time will be able to go to the state radio system so that our communications will not only be effective, but we will be able to communicate between departments and not have to wait. Otherwise, we would have to have waited for everybody to be able to purchase their own equipment.
So what you are approving tonight is the acceptance of the grant, not the expenditure of the funds. That will come to you as another resolution, and you will get an opportunity to talk about that and the 10% match. So that will be a separate resolution, a separate motion. Okay, so this is just the acceptance of the grant. Counselor Sheffield.
Now, where would the 10% come from, Ron?
Well,
Oh,
Chief just said it comes out of his budget.
Out of your, all right, so it would come out of the,
Our
How do you-
portion of, yeah, each department would have a 10% portion that they have to pay, which it was already worked out in the spreadsheets beforehand, how many radios they were requesting. The grant is pretty vigorous and structured in how many different radios you can ask for. So they're all aware and committed, I believe, to that 10%.
So if you look at this breaks down who's doing what, right? Or is there a change to that?
There are changes to that
Okay,
original
There are
request.
gonna be some changes, but this gives you a rough breakdown.
all right, so is there
Okay,
anything?
we are acting as the fiduciary. That's all we're doing. We're gonna have our money for us, but right now, somebody had to put in for the grant.
Right.
We put in for the grant for everybody, so we are acting as a fiduciary for this grant. So does that answer your question?
Well, no, I didn't answer as far, I'm just asking where the money, what fund was coming out of, or, that's what I was.
Well, he
that's-
answered that.
Well, that's what's discussed, but Ron was saying something else, I wasn't sure if he had to add something else to add, so.
No, like Chief Tompkins said, it's gonna be, the city's portion will come out of the fire operating budget, and then all of the other pieces we will be receiving from the other agencies as for their 10% match.
Any other questions or comments on this motion? Ron?
I just want to add one thing, just the magnitude of this. I actually received a call from Congressman Courtney congratulating the city on this award and the magnitude and the size of it. He hasn't seen one this big in our area, so just, it's out there, and we have received congratulations on that. So I just wanted to pass that along. And again, thanks to Ted and everybody that has helped with putting this grant together.
Absolutely. When they come to me and said, hey, we want to do this, I said, absolutely, let's do this. And so Ted spearheaded it, made it happen, worked with the other departments, and we are a successful recipient of this award. Anything else? Okay? Counselor Norris?
I'm sorry, just looking at the math here. So the total cost of the project is $883,000.
Well, that's what they put in for.
Oh, that's what they put in.
And then we got cut to $569,009.
Does that mean something's not getting done?
So the original request, the 883,000, was the total cost of the project, which included the 10% match of the 88,000.
Yeah.
So that was the total cost. When FEMA went through the grant, they look at it by seats. I guess, and Chief can kind of, just going off, I'm trying to throw some verbiage out there from what I heard. Seats and the radios per seat in the truck. And what they did was, when they did their calculation, they cut, as the chief said, 24 portable radios and 1 mobile radio out of that. And then they also took that 10% match out. So we did reconcile what they did do. We're not sure, like the chief said, which department lost the 24 portable and the 1 mobile. We'll have to go back through and reconcile and figure out which department had over, put in for radios.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution?
That chart was,
Back page.
It should be the back page.
It was on the table when we came in.
Nope, that's not it.
It looks
All right,
like
did you
this.
get something like this? It's a thick thing.
It's probably on the bottom of all of your papers, because it was on the table.
It was
when we
sitting
came
on the
in.
table when you came in.
We're just accepting the grant, right?
Yeah.
Let's accept the grant.
All right,
so, yeah.
here. There's mine.
Here it is.
Oh, you got it?
Look on your award letter in the back.
Oh. What the-
It says award letter.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
That's okay, I'll read off of yours.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. You said there are changes to it, Ron, or there are going to be changes to it?
Just from the original request, from what was awarded. We just need to reconcile and figure out who, the justification for the
Okay,
reduction.
what you just said, okay.
Yeah.
The same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, I think what you see here, the spreadsheet, is what we put into, we applied for. The government then comes back and says, hey, we're only going to give you this much, and they don't give you a whole lot of details of why. So after we accept it and can get into it, then we'll know exactly who lost what radios. But the overall gist and the overall, grant is,
So he said that.
is awarded.
That's why he said we had to accept it before we get into the
Right.
bulk of it.
Right.
We have to accept it before we can get into it, and then
No,
anybody
no.
could
He
not,
said that 2 minutes ago.
could decide, hey, we're not going to, accept it,
I
but
know, I got it.
everybody's already
I was
committed.
making it clear. It's
Yeah.
done.
This is where we're going, so.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for
Thank you.
spending the amount of time that it took.
You got something to go home to? You guys don't like